cooking? What you gotta cooking? What you gotta cook it? 'Cause I'm hoping hard it be me hiding in your favorite recipe.
Hi, I'm Ferris. This is Cooking for Bachelors, and today is desserts part 3. This is Jennifer. She is our winning bachelorette from dating game number 1. I hope you see the dating games because they were great. Anyway, Jennifer baked this fabulous brownie that I and the whole crew were just eating for hours, and it was delicious. And I thought, Jennifer, you bake so well, and I'm not baking for you. I know I'm not baking for you, dudes, okay? I'm giving you desserts on the fly, all right? And so we thought that Jennifer would come and make another dessert for you, but this time, we're jumping into baking. That's right.
Yay.
So, yay. So what are you gonna bake?
I'm going to be baking my oatmeal cinnamon dark chocolate chip cookies, and they're amazing. Really, really good.
I just heard all of the best words. I know.
So
and
good.
I am gonna jump into making something baked for you also. And this is gonna be an apple tart. And I'm gonna show you how easy it really is. So I'm gonna start, and then Jennifer's gonna do her cookies, because mine's gonna take a little more time in the oven. So let's get started.
All right.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, first I'm gonna roll out my puff pastry. Now you can buy this already, buy this dough already like this. It comes in a sheet, it's actually rolled up in a box, and it's just called puff pastry. So in order to lay it out, you wanna flour your surface. So all I'm doing is, this is how you do. Take a little flour in your hand, and you just brush it lightly on the surface. And that's when they say flour your surface, this is how you do it. Then we're gonna lay out the puff pastry, and it's already in the thickness that we're going to use. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are about 5 or 6 inches square. And then I'm gonna place them on my tray. So now I have my puff pastry on the cooking sheet, and I'm gonna cut my apple. And if you don't have a core, which I don't, you cut off a slice, you leave the core out, and then cut slices about 1/8 of an inch thick. You can start laying them out in any kind of pattern, circular pattern. And these will cook completely in the oven. You don't have to pre-cook them. And the puff pastry is a very flaky pastry, so it almost feels like a soft phyllo in a way. So we're gonna cut another slice about that size. Can you see that? It's just like in a little circle. Now I'm going to sprinkle it with some sugar and cinnamon. It's actually 3 parts sugar, 1 part cinnamon. And I'm gonna just sprinkle it all over. Nice, and this is gonna be nice and sweet on the apples. And then I'm gonna put some butter. A little dollop. Don't ask me how much this is. I know it's baking, but this is baking without measuring, okay? All right. That is it. We're gonna put that in the oven at 400 degrees for 25 minutes, and then we're gonna make a caramel sauce. Caramel sauce is brown sugar. I have 1½ cups. I know I said no measuring, but this is 1½ cups. Now, you put it in the pan, and the heat will make it melt. It's sugar. It's gonna start melting. When it melts, you're going to add 1½ cups of heavy cream. This happens to be a 2-cup container, but I removed 1/2 cup. So it's 1½, 1½ of sugar. Oops, here it goes. You gotta watch this carefully because you don't want it to burn. And then you use 6 tablespoons of butter, and that's gonna make your caramel sauce. So while I'm attending to my caramel sauce and my sugar, Jennifer's gonna bake her cookies.
So I'm gonna make my oatmeal dark chocolate cinnamon cookies. It's actually a pretty basic oatmeal, kind of like an oatmeal raisin recipe that I took and made it something else. It's really, really good. So I always do the wet ingredients in one bowl and the dry ingredients in another, and then I'll mix them together and then put them on the sheet.
Hey Jennifer, I'm gonna help you
Okay,
now.
sounds
Okay,
good.
so
So if you want to go ahead and do the dry ingredients for me, we have 2 cups of oatmeal
2 cups of oatmeal.
and a teaspoon of salt, baking soda, and cinnamon.
Each a teaspoon.
Yeah.
So it's salt, baking soda, and cinnamon.
And then we have, for the wet ingredients, we have 2 eggs, and we have 2 sticks of butter
That are already melted.
that I've already melted, because it's a lot easier just to work with melted butter, because unless you're using an electric mixer, it's really hard work on your arms to work with hard sticks of butter. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour that in. I have a cup of sugar. I'm sorry, 3/4 cup of sugar and a 3/4 cup of brown sugar. It's just like soft brown sugar. I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla and also a teaspoon of hot water. And whenever I'm baking, I always do a little bit of something wet like water or milk. It just keeps whatever you're baking really moist instead of drying it out, because no one wants to eat like dried out cookie.
You have a lot to mix, I know.
Oh, and I'm sorry, also 2 cups of flour. Put that in there for me.
I have more. 2
Really
cups
important.
of
You can't
flour.
cook without flour.
Guys,
Bake
you know
without
what
flour.
we're gonna do is we're going to put Jennifer's recipe for her cookies and for her brownie that she cooked for the dating game on the website. It will be in the downloads, so it'll be downloads, recipes, lists, stuff like that, and we'll put it on there so you can follow it. And if you want, I'll put the fruit tart, but that's kind of really easy. Okay.
And
So-
then just once that's mixed, you just want to slowly incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet. You don't want to dump it in all at once, or else you'll get flour everywhere, and it's just messy. I mean, I guess you can.
So mix it together slowly.
Yeah,
So you
slowly.
put the dry into the wet.
In the wet, yeah. Because and you want to do it little bit by bit, because it's a lot harder to mix if you dump all the dry in at one time.
Yeah, even this seems to have a lot of,
Yeah.
like you have to make sure the oatmeal goes all the way through, then the flour. So that's how you really do everything when you're baking.
When you're baking, it's really good to do the wet and dry separate, and then mix them together in the end. It's a lot easier, and it makes a better end result. I mean, I've done wet and dry together sometimes, and it doesn't come out as good as
Right, so when you
separate.
think you want to be like lazy and
Yeah.
oh, it's going to be easier, it's not easier.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's heavy mixing to get all of this dry stuff into the
So
wet.
this is what it looks like when it's with just the wet and then the dry, and then
And then
we'll
so we
mix
put a
them.
little
Yeah,
bit at a
just wanna pour
time.
a little bit in for me. Thank you. Try to mix this
So as I,
together real
oh,
quick.
well, look at that arm. Oh yeah. So as I can see you're used to that. So as I see it all be absorbed, okay, I'll put in a little more. Now isn't this fun when you have a friend? When your friend?
It is.
Or even a date. What a nice thing to do on a date. What are you gonna do on your date? You're gonna make cookies?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he can cook for me, and I'll bake for him. That's my deal I make with everyone, because I'm not a big cooker, but I'm a huge baker. So if someone wants to cook for me, I'll bake for you. Bake anything you want for dessert, as long
That's
as you
great,
want to
'cause
cook me dinner.
I
So.
think apparently Joshua actually likes to cook. So
Oh, that works out well.
that works out well.
My sister and I always used to bake together growing up. That's where I got really into baking. So it is fun to bake with someone else.
I'm just gonna make sure that this is all still mixed up and that nothing's settled. Okay, it's
Yeah.
looking good.
You can go ahead and pour the rest in.
Oh, no, I'm gonna follow
No?
the formula. I'm gonna do a little at a time. Okay.
And you'll see once you start adding in all the dry, it's gonna get a lot thicker and
Heavier.
yeah, a lot
Harder
heavier.
to mix.
And it'll be easier once you're putting the cookies onto the baking sheet. They'll be a lot easier to handle because they won't be a lot thicker.
Okay, and that is
Perfect.
it.
And then you just, after this is all mixed, you dump in a bag of either semi-sweet or dark. If you want to use dark chocolate, you can grab a dark chocolate bar or something like that and just chop it up into little pieces.
What do we have here?
We have semi-sweet
Semi-sweet
chocolate chips,
more.
baking chips. So
Yummy.
you're gonna go ahead and pour it in for me.
Pour it in,
You can
the
just
whole
pour
thing?
the whole thing in.
Whole.
With these, I mean, I'm a huge chocolate person, as you can tell with the brownies. This is probably too much chocolate, but I don't think that there's such thing as too much
So does
chocolate.
it? Do they stay or do they start melting in? Do they stay?
They'll
really?
melt in a little bit, but they stay pretty much in their
Chunkies?
size. Yeah.
Okay, let me just get rid of that.
Get stuck in there. Well, we can grab, so if you have another baking sheet here, and you want to butter the baking sheets, or else it'll, especially when you're doing cookies, you want to butter the baking sheets because it's going to be really hard to use a spatula to get the cookies off the baking sheet.
Okay, so how much?
So I usually do just like grab a big spoon and a little spoon, and I usually measure it out with a bigger spoon and just get about that much, and then just scoop it onto the sheet like that.
About that much?
Yeah.
That looks good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, so we're gonna put them on the sheets. And how far apart? Do they really spread out a lot?
Yeah, they don't spread out too much actually. They'll be a little bit bigger than these.
Okay.
So if you want to do 2 and 2, or you can do 3 across. If you want to make them a little smaller, it's up to you just how big you want your cookies.
I'm gonna follow you as far as size, I think.
And then these will go in the oven, and you want to preheat it to 350, and they cook for 10 to 15 minutes. It usually goes for about 12, and they're good.
So what do you want to look for besides the smell? Because you know when you smell them, like when it really gets that full aroma, it's probably ready.
You want them to be a little golden on top, not too much, because you don't want to burn them. But they'll be a little golden on top, and you'll be able to tell when you see them in the oven. They'll flatten out a little bit, and they'll look like cookies.
So are these going to be chewy cookies? Or?
Yeah, they're very chewy, and because of the water, they'll be moist and really just so good. Chewy, moist, delicious oatmeal
like
cookies.
Chewy, moist, and chocolate.
Pair it with a nice glass of milk, cold milk,
a nice glass of. How come everyone always prefaces a glass of with a nice glass of? Did you ever hear that? A nice glass of milk, a nice glass of wine, I love it. It's like, no, I'm gonna have a rotten glass of wine, sour glass of milk. I'm trying to like, I think I can actually do 3,
Those
right?
actually, yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, you can do 3 on there.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you only did 2?
Yeah, I only did 2 because I think I made them a little big, but they, like I said, they won't spread out too much, so you'll be okay.
Okay,
And if they hit the sides a little bit or they melt into each other, you can just cut them with the spatula a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and pop them in the oven and let them bake, and then eat them.
Okay, so we're gonna put them in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes.
10 to 12 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
And then we'll see our product, and we'll have a nice glass of milk with it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks for your help, Jill.
No, thank you for teaching me.
You're welcome.
The tarts came out of the oven.
Those look so good, Jill.
Look at that, these nice and crispy, nice and little short. The apples just wilt, and I'm putting the caramel sauce. The caramel recipe will be on the site. It's just sugar, brown sugar, butter, and cream. That's in my diet. Okay.
And here are the cookies, the oatmeal chocolate chip cinnamon cookies. They all came out. They look really good. Served with a nice glass of milk.
A nice glass of milk. So this is desserts part 3, and we're actually baking. So I'm gonna taste your cookie, and you can taste my tart. Has a little crunch, which I love. Oh, that looks good.
Really
Is it
good.
too hot? It's
No,
good?
it's really good.
Wow, it looks really crispy and short, and the apples are good.
The apples are really have a nice flavor, and the crust is really flaky. Really good.
These are great. They are not too chewy. They have a little bit, they're right in between chewy and crispy, and just hitting the chocolate at the right time. It's great.
Want to do a little dunk?
Oh, a dunk. A dunk, a dunk. Cooking with love from my kitchen to yours.